So a friend and I wanted to build a platform by listening to podcasts. It's not going to be, but it would be fun. They're still bins. They're more stable than the
Well, you don't have to. I haven't decided where I'm going.
But it would be cool. The trouble is, actually getting a full sauce of, like, near my house, it's very noisy. It's really expensive. We're like, like we come to sit, like the equipment set up maybe that way. And I really need a large like really big, like really big, a lot of those things. He lives in Brussels. He lives like in the middle of Brussels, and so like it's gonna be
Hello, everyone. All right. Welcome to the IAB Open Meeting. Hope everyone's having a good IETF week so far. We are about halfway through. Woo! I'm Tommy Pauly. I am IAB Chair, and I'm joined by Jason, also on the IAB. We have a bunch of IAB members here with you, and we're going to have a fun agenda today. All right, so this is the Note Well. Like everything else going on this week, this meeting is covered by the Note Well. These are the terms under which we participate in the IETF. Please make sure you're familiar with this. Before we start, we'd like to remind people, what is this meeting? This is a bit different than some of the other working group meetings you may be going to this week. This is the IAB Open. So this is a session about the IAB, the Internet Architecture Board, to provide an opportunity to share what's going on with the community with regards to some technical topics, architectural topics, with regards to our relationships with other standards organizations, things going on in internet governance, etc. And this is intended to help increase the visibility of what the IAB is doing, and also, and very importantly, to get the feedback from the community to see what are the things that you have questions about, what do you care about, what can the IAB continue to do better. And besides coming to IAB Open, there are many ways that you can engage and give feedback to the IAB. We have the IAB at IAB.org list you can send comments and questions to. It includes all the IAB members and many other people who are involved with the IAB's work. You can see those people listed here. We also have a discussion list for architectural topics, Architecture Discuss. This is where, if you want to have wide-ranging conversations, it's good for that. We also discuss documents that the IAB is working on there. And so if you want to engage in discussion on those and provide reviews, please join that list. Also, if you have questions about liaisons, we have some liaison coordinators on the IAB, and you can reach them at the liaison coordination email. Here's our agenda for today. Do you want to take us through this, Jason?
Sure. So we're going to cover a couple of upcoming workshops briefly. We'll speak to those. Then we've got a liaison coordination update. And then the two main talking blocks are first WSIS plus 20 and IGF update. And then we have a local speaker from Madrid coming in to talk about video streaming from Olympic Broadcast Services. And then time permitting, open mic at the end.
So let's go through a bit of just status for what the IAB is working on. We have a handful of documents that are still being processed. We have some workshop reports from the AI control workshop and the NEMOPS, or Next Era of Network Management Operations workshop, that occurred last year, and those reports are being finalized. And please do read them and review them if you're interested or you participated. to make sure that we can progress these. We also have documents that are being worked on by our liaison coordinators to update some of the previous RFCs on how the IETF and the IAB manage liaison relationships and liaison statements. One of the things that we do during the IETF weeks for the past couple IETF meetings is to offer a new work help desk. One of the roles of the IAB is to help try to shepherd new work through the IAB, through the IETF, to let people know kind of what are the processes and help answer questions about how to bring new work in. So we had a session on Monday, and there will also be a session today later at 15:30. And so if you just come by IETF registration, there will be a desk there, and you can talk to some IAB members if you have questions about how to bring your new work in. The IAB also runs some technical programs. We have two that are currently running, e-impact and EDM. I don't know if potentially Suresh or Mark, if you want to talk about what's going on in e-impact, that'd be great. Yeah, that's great.
I didn't put myself on the queue, but
I'll let you talk without going into.
okay, thanks. So what we've done is like we have an architectural considerations document, and we had a bunch of design team meetings. Like, so we have a fairly active design team. We meet almost like every week on a Thursday, and we made quite a bit of progress on the document. So now this version 1 is out of the document. So like every meeting cycle, we are trying to make some major updates, and we are focusing really on actionable advice on this document. So ruthless cutting of stuff where we cannot provide actionable advice to protocol designers. And we did a small restructure of the document to split stuff into understanding the network for the sustainability to action. So the first thing contains the measurement and modeling related stuff, and the second part is like when we actually say, hey, what are the things you need to do on that? And so we are going to present at the end of Sustain RG to like a short update in there to get like further comments, and then bring it to the IAB for the feedback.
All right, thank you. We also have a technical program called EDM on evolvability, deployability, and maintainability. This has been running for a while. We did meet yesterday, had a good discussion. We're currently working on one document that's about trying to give more practical guidance and considerations on protocol greasing, which is a technique of trying to add variability to prevent ossification. We also had a good discussion on deployability. We'll be planning to meet again at the next IETF meeting at 1:24. So if you're interested in these topics, please join us. All right. So next, we wanted to highlight that there are a couple upcoming workshops later this year that we now have calls for papers and participation open for. And so we wanted to introduce these to the community. And I guess if there are any initial questions or feedback, we can take those now. So I'll go briefly through both of these. So first, we're going to be holding a joint workshop. So this is going to be a workshop that's joint between the IAB and the W3C on looking at age-based restrictions for content access. This is going to be an in-person workshop that's going to be held in London during October the 7th through 9th. And this is going to be looking at the technical and architectural choices that are involved in age-based content restrictions. This is something that is a topic that's coming up in a lot of different jurisdictions and is receiving a lot of attention. And so we want to look at the different technical architectural considerations and the implications of different architectures and solutions and how to think about those and how they impact the internet and how we interact with it. We're going to be looking at different technical requirements and trying to compare architectures, but the goal is not to try to say, oh, here is a particular technical solution that we're going to come out and recommend, but rather to understand the trade-offs and implications and how to analyze solutions in this space. The papers submissions are going to be open through the 8th of August. So this is coming up soon. So if you're interested in this, please do create a submission. You can find more information on the call for papers on this data tracker link, and you can submit your papers to the email listed here. I see Ted is in queue. Happy to hear comments. And also if any of the other members of the program committee there would like to comment on this, happy to have you speak up at this point.
Just to clarify, because that might have been confusing, I am not on the program committee for this.
Right, yeah.
So I will note that the IETF has some history of work on this, including as much as 30 years ago, when Nathaniel Bornstein put forward a terrifyingly bad proposal called Kid Code, which was to encode the age appropriateness in URIs. In fact, that's how I started getting involved in the IETF 30 years ago, was to oppose that age-based content restriction. At the time, I was head of NASA's Webmasters Working Group, and it was judged by NASA to be a truly onerous and stupid thing to do. I did not work for NASA. A mere contractor, I came to carry the water. I will point out that what you've put here, explore technical requirements and compare architectures, is fine, but I think it should be an explicit goal of the work of the workshop to identify harms. If that's not clear when you talk about this, I think you're doing a disservice to the community, because many of these approaches have very, very definite harms, not just to the content providers, but to the community and for the ability of the internet to serve its purpose. So I would suggest that when you think about what you might come out with as a workshop result, instead of picking a single solution, it might be identifying the common set of harms. Because that common set of harms may be something that you can take back to the communities that think they want age-based restrictions and explain to them what they're losing for what they're gaining. And that would be a valuable output from the IAB. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Sure. So yeah, Mark, yeah, happy for you to respond.
And just state your name for the record as well.
Mark Nottingham as program committee co-chair. Yes, Ted, that is a remarkably good description of the intent of the workshop. That is exactly why we're doing this. If you read the description and you feel that it doesn't capture that, please come and talk to us.
Yeah, apologies for things that are they're lost in this short description. Please do read the full call. Vittorio.
Yeah, Vittorio Bertola, Open Exchange. I just wanted to mention that last week the European Commission released a blueprint for age verification and started a test bed of an age verification app, which is going to be implemented pretty soon because it's a legal requirement now in Europe to have age verification for a certain number of services. So if the workshop could, I mean, and I don't know who's going to submit papers, but if the workshop will come up with analysis of that, it will be very useful for us that are discussing at the policy level. But now, after hearing the previous intervention, I also have another observation that in the call for papers, you explicitly say that you don't want anything related to policy or what regulators could do or should do. But now you want to identify harms, which I guess it's a policy discussion. So because I've been thinking whether I should submit something or not, and I want to understand to which extent the policy implications or the consequences of this are part of the scope and to which extent they are not.
That's fine.
Right. The intent behind that, and Martin might come up and say something as well, is that we don't want to have the purely policy discussion in the room. We don't have, this community is not making policy in that sense. What we do want to talk about is the effect of policies on the technical architecture. So if certain choices are made, they can have effects on other architectural principles that we're very concerned about regarding privacy, security, extensibility, evolution, so forth and so on. And so it's a delicate line that we're walking there, where we don't want to be actually talking about or seen as talking about making decisions that policymakers should be making. I'll add, if folks are aware of different parties that they think should be involved in this workshop, such as some of the policymakers, because part of the intent here is that they hear these concerns and the potential harms to the architecture, please flag it to them.
Okay, thank you. Is it okay if I drain the queue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just drain this queue. This is a good discussion. Let's also feel free to have a discussion on lists or questions to the PC. Elliot, please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Mark, I think you just hit the key point there. Like, who's the target audience for this? If it's policymakers, what's the output going to be, right, such that it's consumable by them? And are we hitting the concerns that they have? And do they get to hear the concerns that we have? So I think I have two suggestions. The first is now brought to you by Dr. Obvious, which is please try to have some of the policymakers in the room. And the second is to make sure that your output is focused in a way that it's consumable, in a way that you want to be actioned. Because I think a lot of times, and I think there was a review in the last year, and Tommy could correct me if I'm wrong, about the results of workshops and their impact. I would like this one to have impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. Andrew. That doesn't seem like it's on.
Maybe a switch on the top.
How about you switch over? Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Andrew Campling. So I guess two things really. On the harms thing, I think that's entirely useful to capture, providing we also capture the harms currently being caused by some of the technical choices that have previously been made. So I think we need some balance in what harms might be captured by the workshop. And then secondly, I just think it's a really good topic. And so it's really positive to see that the IAB and W3C are exploring it. So thank you.
Thank you. Jim.
Thanks, Tommy. A couple of questions just about the practicalities of this workshop. Will it be open in the sense that anyone can follow on Meetecho or something like that? And it will be, or will it be based on some kind of mechanism like using Chatham House rules so that only the participants can speak? What's going to be the basis of the actual workshop itself? Yeah,
so as described in the call, it is going to be a Chatham House rule in-person workshop there. Okay, and there won't be any Meetecho access at all? I missed that.
Would there be any Meetecho or online access for people that don't want to be at the workshop but want to be able to track what's going on?
Yeah, so Jim, there may be particular sessions where remote attendance will be possible by invitation. We haven't identified any particular parties that can't attend physically that would like to. Unfortunately, because of the nature of the discussion and its sensitivity, after a bunch of discussion, we've sort of concluded that the best way to ensure that some of the key actors and some of those that Elliot identified, regulators in particular, are unable to participate in more open forums. And so in order to facilitate their participation, we've chosen to use a less open format, but that's reluctant, I think.
Okay, thank you very much, Martin.
All right, I do see there are a couple other folks in the queue, but we have locked the queue, and I believe we want to be able to move on if that's fine. But please, more questions, feedback, you can email the PC list, you can email the IAB, and we can continue the discussion.
Sorry, because I think that this question is actually very relevant.
Yes.
What triggered the workshop to happen? What has been the motivation behind it? I don't think I have heard any of that so far.
Yeah. I think, as we've mentioned, there's quite a lot of ongoing policymaking and regulation in this area, and I think it's a very relevant topic that is coming up for many operators, implementers, etc. All right, thank you. We also have another workshop. Jason, can give a brief?
Sure. So brief update. This is a workshop on IP address geolocation. It will be the first week of December. It will be completely virtual, so no one has to travel. Keep it low cost and easy. We will do it over 3 days, probably 2 to 3 hours per day. And the intent is to cover, first and foremost, today's use cases and all of the points of friction in those use cases. To use one example, when we were at the last IETF meeting in Bangkok, a bunch of my corporate software for proxying and so on thought I was still in Dublin, despite the fact that the IETF had updated their geofeed months previous to that. And so that comes up fairly often. And it seems like a lot of the IP geolocation is sort of duct tape and baling wire. So we want to first understand what are the uses today of this sort of data. And of course, the gaps and problems that are being encountered, and then step back and look at future opportunities that may not necessarily be IP address based, may take some other form, and think through all of those things. We do very much hope to have participation from communities outside of the IETF. So we're doing outreach to various NOGs around the world, to groups like the SVTA, the Streaming Video Technology Alliance or Association, excuse me, CDN companies, and of course, all of the existing major IP geofeed companies to get them to participate as well. So hoping to pull those folks together. In terms of submissions, given that we're sort of at the end of summer, we have an initial submission date in early October. So we provided plenty of time for folks to get back from vacation and take a look and do submissions. And invitations would come, late October.
Yeah, I think, sorry, the date on the slide is wrong. We've updated it. It's going to be later. Apologies for that. And also, a bit to what Ted was getting at on the other workshop, some of the gaps and problems that often come up in this area are around the privacy implications of understanding clients' location, and parts of this is to identify and highlight some of those concerns. And as we're looking at future opportunities, look at ways to solve the original motivating use cases where people are using IP geolocation and potentially find ways to achieve those goals without some of the same privacy concerns. Oliver.
Hi, this is Oliver Gasser, IP Info. So I think this is a really good initiative. So thanks for organizing it. I have 2 comments / questions. So the call for papers is a bit vague in terms of the paper structure or 3 pages, like is it double column, single column? I guess it's free to choose.
It's whatever format you like. I think 1 to 3 pages, a few paragraphs. I think the key is identify like who you are, what the relevance is, and I think it'll be immediately apparent, the relevance.
Yeah. Okay, and the second point is regarding the chosen date. So there is exactly during that week the ACM CONEXT conference, which might, if you want to reach out to researchers as well. I know that there has been work published previously on IP geolocation at that venue specifically, so that might be something to take into consideration.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
Consider that, and we can adjust as necessary.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, so those are the upcoming workshops. And yeah, now we'll move on to the rest of our agenda. While Mira is coming up, there was one other thing that was highlighted to me. There's going to be a side meeting later today that may be relevant for this group on multi-stakeholder forums on the internet standards deployments. If Rudiger is in the room, he could maybe briefly, Rudiger Martin, sorry, give a brief plug of that. Otherwise, people can just check the side meeting schedule. Okay.
I have slides. Yeah.
All right, I'll bring your slides.
But Suresh, you want to wait there on the side? Okay. Hi, I'm Mia Kulevin. I'm one of the liaison coordinators together with Suresh, Chin, and Warren. Warren is somewhere. Chin, I'm not sure. Oh, also over there. Perfect. So usually what we do here is we invite one of our liaison managers to give an update and talk about one specific organization. But there's a lot going on right now, so we decided to take a little bit of an overview approach here. And I even get a clicker. That's great. So we give an overview about the liaison status for all the liaisons that we have. We talk very briefly about tooling, and then we also talk about the updates to various RFCs that we're working on related to liaison management. I put this slide in. You can get this data yourself on the data tracker, but I just wanted to give like an idea about what we're talking about here, how many liaisons we receive and send every year. You can see some of the most most active organizations that we talk to, and sometimes there is a balance in how much we send and get back, and sometimes there is a little bit of a disbalance for various reasons. But this is just the numbers to give you an idea. Also on the update side, we have 2 new liaison managers. We have Rüdiger Geib, and I misspelled his name, I think. Sorry for that. He is a new liaison manager for SG12 in ITOT. So for the ITOT, we have Scott as the overall liaison manager, and then we have Deborah and now Rüdiger to support him for specific study groups. So thank you for doing that. And then we have Chuyan, who is now stepping in for the Broadband Forum. Dave wanted to step down after he served for many, many years. So big thanks to Dave here as well, and welcome, Yujan. And then there's 3 more where we are actually looking into getting new liaison managers for ISO, CableX, Labs, and ECMA. Now I quickly run for all the liaison managers, gave me a little report. We put them in the slides. You can look at them yourself. So I will click quickly through it. A few notions here. On 3GP, we have an active coordination group. They already had a meeting this week. At the moment, it's actually quite quiet. They usually look at liaison statements and dependencies between drafts and their documents. But at some point, the 6G work will start, and then we will probably see more coming up again. But at the moment, very quiet. W3C, we also have a group. They also meet regularly because there is a lot of overlap, a lot of work where we use each other's protocols. Especially there's also some work by the technical architecture group in the W3C on the W3C vision document now. There are principles on ethical considerations and privacy considerations, which are also probably interesting for us. Like there are links here so you can look at them. And the workshop we just heard about on age-based restrictions is a joint workshop with W3C and the IAB. ITUT or ITU, a lot going on here. Scott was nice and put some hot topics here on the slide and then some of the next upcoming meetings. So much going on, so you have to talk to Scott, Deborah, or Rüdiger in this case. I'm skipping over that. IEEE, maybe 2 interesting parts here. We have a leadership meeting coming up on Saturday because the IEEE is meeting in the same hotel next week. So it's always a nice opportunity to talk to each other, make sure we understand what's going on, but there are also frequent calls actually to update each other. And then followed by the leadership meeting on the afternoon at Saturday, there's also a workshop focused on DEDNet in the area of IEEE 802.1. I'm not sure if Janusz, you want to like say something for 30 seconds? Not sure he's in the room. Okay, but you can still register for that. I think it's Saturday afternoon. Broadband Forum, as I said, we have a new liaison manager, active discussion going on those topics where we have overlap. Also, Broadband Forum, last point here, started a new project on L4S. So probably we will see more exchange in that direction. It's nice to see. And a small report from ISO. We have different liaison managers for different groups in ISO. Usually it's very quiet, but you know, there are meetings, there are dependencies, so like we get some updates here as well. Okay, that was the update. Check out the slides for all the details. Just quickly on the tooling. I don't know whoever used the tooling, but we get many complaints. But we're working on it. We're really trying. We have like a huge amount of issues on GitHub. So if you have problems, you can also look there. You can open just a normal issue on the data tracker if you have any problems. But we got one recent update. So we're working on the rights for liaison managers. We did some cleanups and so on. So we're slowly moving forward here. That's the good news. Webpage, we also did over the last 1 or 2 years update the content on the webpage. I think it has improved. We still get feedback from time to time, things are missing, whatever. That's very useful. So we are continually trying to improve. We will, this is also related to the updates of the RSC, so we will line the language there. We got some information that we need more information for chairs, how to handle incoming liaison statements. And then we will probably also put some information on the chair's website directly, which is more detailed. But talking about this, the other thing we're doing is really trying to do some training. We did talk to the liaison managers recently. We are more actively coordinating with them. But we also have a training for the chairs coming up on Wednesday at the chairs lunch. What? Oh, today, it's Wednesday already, okay. Today, right after this, I think, yes. Still have to send slides, apparently. And then we're planning also training for the ADs. But generally, if you have any questions, please come back to us. And yeah, we're trying to continuously do this like more actively. Okay.
Thank you. I'm not Miria, I'm Suresh. So just talking about the updates we're doing for our processes internally, the big thing that we kind of started off last time was there is a relationship that we have with 3GPP that's fairly strong with a lot of areas of overlap and dependencies and stuff and so on. And RFC 3113, as you realize from the number, is pretty old. And like a lot of the things have changed pretty significantly, both in the structure of 3GPP, structure of IETF, and how we get files. Like, you know, there's like stuff about like an FTP server in there to get documents and stuff and so on. So those things don't exist. So what we decided to do is like update this thing and get rid of a lot of the details, because the details are probably not going to survive for a long time. So we're trying to just talk about the overarching principles of the collaboration and talk about how we actually work, right? And there's an early draft out. It's like still a 0.0 draft. You can look at it. The pointer is in here. If you want to go, please comment on it. I also talked about it at the IETF 3GPP coordination meeting earlier this week on Monday. And RFC 4052 is the one actually that defines like how we actually do liaisons and stuff and so on. Again, this has been greatly simplified and revised. Because a lot of the misunderstandings that happen between IETF and other orgs come from like, you know, what kind of expectations are set on both sides and why we actually set up the relationships and stuff and so on. So there's been quite a bit of text we added to say like when relationships are set up, like, you know, what kind of, like for lack of a better term, quality of service is expected from there and how it actually, these things are treated in the IETF process. So there's like still a few issues left for it to move forward. We just adopted this document as an IAB document on Sunday, this one and the next one that's coming up, but it will go for community comments as well. So the way these documents are done, specifically the 40, 52, and 53, they're like very strange beasts because they're IAB documents, but they go through the IETF stream as well because we actually talk for the IETF. So once the IAB process finishes, the IETF process will kick off with Roman, and then the whole community is going to be open to comment on it. And 4053 actually talks about how we actually send and receive liaison statements, and quite a bit of stuff in there. Again, like Miria is kind of taking the lead on this. It was also adopted as an IAB document. Again, this is greatly simplified. Like it's actually much easier and kind of like with the training, I think we'll have a really good handle on how like we are getting things done. Because like even the to and from of liaison statements were not like very obvious before. What to put in the to, what to put in the CC and stuff and so on. So we kind of simplified this quite a bit, but there's a lot of changes. So please take a look and send us comments. And that's pretty much it from our side. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Do we have any questions about our liaison updates? We do. Colin.
Colin, go ahead if you're, I don't know if you're local or remote.
I'll go this one.
Hi, yeah, it is. Yeah, thanks very much for that. Just looking at the stats and then looking at the list of liaison coordinators and comments, I'll just mention again that Etsy is very obviously in the list as someone to whom IETF both sends liaison statements and receives liaison statements. And I've suggested repeatedly in the past that you might like to set up a liaison relationship with Etsy and that I'd be happy to assist with that. But there always seems to be some sort of resistance But just looking at the numbers and the various other groups and the new ones you set up, can I just sort of say it again?
Sure.
Yeah, actually, thank you for bringing up Etsy. I looked at the numbers and I also thought it's nice to see that we have some good communication going forth and back. I think the resistance isn't really on our side because also Etsy said that we have like an informal collaboration. That's their status as well. And I actually agree with Etsy that I think having these exchanges and making sure we talk to each other is really the important part here. But what I would like to propose is actually that we take maybe Etsy next times at IAB Open and we give some overview about what we have so the community is informed about this. I think that would be really useful.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Yes, I agree, informal collaboration is important, but I think a formal one is very helpful, particularly when Etsy is attempting to send things into IETF and allows IETF to track responses. So very happy to work with you and assist on that.
Perfect, thank you. And there is like stuff that's happening in green and stuff and so on that's got relationship to like Etsy, what is doing in TC data and stuff and so on. So I think it's timely. Yeah, thanks.
Good. Arno.
Yeah, no.
The mic is far away. Hi, Arno Tadei. So yeah, just to simply thank the effort here because we've been a long way on the liaison statements. I simply just want to recognize the effort that are being done by the IAB to progress the liaison. It's not easy because SDOs have different cultures of working together, and for us in the ITU, for example, we must be formal, but at the same time, we can be smart regarding our strategy on liaison statements. I mean, yes, we are flooding you with a lot of liaisons, sometimes for good and bad and ugly reasons, but I think we can be smart and understand that in the Venn diagram, we can step by step reduce to what matters, and in fact, a good call between players would help us simply to identify this one, please help us answer, because on our side, it would help us to do something. So I see good progress. I like the attitude at the moment. Please continue. We try to help you the best we can. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Arno. And I think like one important thing we've done is like kind of set the expectations on it, right? Like, you know what, it's good to have a lot of liaison statements, what requires action and what doesn't. Is like, I think that with the tooling and everything, I think we'll have a better handle on things that require a response or not. I think that is kind of the thing. We are not like very well set up with tooling, but I think we are going to get there. So thank you.
Yeah. All right.
And I read the MOU with with ITU. Thank you, Miriam.
Yeah, and thank you on your side for helping with that as well.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So now we're going to move on to our updates from WSIS +20 and the IGF. Olaf, please go ahead. I'll get your clicker working. There's even a clicker.
Yeah, right. So small update on the processes around the World Summit of the Information Society, the 20-year review, the Internet Governance Forum, which is part of that World Summit of the Information Society. There's been a lot of activity this year. We've been talking about it here before. By the way, my name is Olaf Kolkman. I'm with the Internet Society. We are fellow travelers with the IETF, of course, in many ways, but specifically on this issue, we've been in close collaboration. What I will do is I will give a little bit of an introduction about where we are in the process around WSIS +20, how the IGF fits into that, and then my colleagues will give a deeper update about what happened at the IGF at a WSIS +20 high-level event and the response to the elements paper. And if you think, what are these things? I hope to explain that in the next few slides. So there's a lot of light coming from here, but this is the sort of long-term context. In 2003 to 2005, there was the World Summit on the Information Society. Essentially, that is where the UN came to a consensus around how to create a development agenda for ICTs, and understood that the multi-stakeholder approach to governance of the internet is way to go, so to speak. The WSIS has been reviewed 10 years ago. It's now 20 years past its start, and there is a review this year. Zooming in a little bit on that, there's a whole process. I have to say these are the slides that we've used within ISOC, so they're a little bit of ISOC focused, but I think that's okay. So this is the overview of basically this year's process. We are here at the vertical line there. What has happened? First, in the process, two co-facilitators, two diplomats have been appointed to go through this process. There were prep meetings, and at some point in July or in June, 20th of June, the co-facilitators released what they are called an elements paper. Those were their thoughts about what would go into a review document. That elements paper has been discussed. Before that elements paper came out, many non-papers were written. Non-papers is a term of art in the diplomatic world for basically draft documents, things that governments will not hold themselves to, but basically a method for sharing ideas. ISOC did a non-paper, and all those type of things went into the elements paper. The elements paper got released the Friday before the IGF. There has been lots of discussion around the IGF, and there was an invite to provide written contributions. The deadline for those written contributions is tomorrow. Both the Internet Society as well as the IAB have provided input, and the input of the IAB will be discussed in a bit. So what is coming is basically in the next few weeks, so this is what happens, in the next few weeks, there will be a zero draft written by the co-facilitators, and there will be input on that as well. That will go in some consultation form. In fact, this week, people announced that there will be an online consultation on the 29th of July as sort of, what did we learn? It's a little bit involved process in order to get 3 minutes of speaking points, but it's a virtual meeting. And you have to go to the UN and register and those type of things. Doesn't really matter. It's all process. What will happen is that there will be a zero draft of the outcome paper, and there will be a way to offer written contributions. That will be in September. What ISOC will do is to do a careful analysis of those papers and share with the broad community our analysis in the form of a matrix of issues so that people can make up their minds and see how it reflects to the wider open internet. And I guess that the IAB will have a look at that and also make up their minds themselves. Going forward, there will be more prep meetings, but in the end, there will be a draft outcome document in November, and that will lead to informal consultations and a final outcome document, which is being decided in New York. And that will be a state-only negotiation. So the time in which we as communities that have an interest in how these negotiations proceed have time to influence this is now, with input on the elements paper and written contributions after the zero draft. After that, it's a matter of diplomats. But part of being involved in the IGF and the WSIS, next part of this agenda, I will step away soon, is about making those contacts and being seen as a community. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Dhruv.
Thank you, Olaf.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dhruv. I'll quickly talk over what happened at the IGF 2025. as we were just talking, this happened in June in Norway. This was the 20th IGF and just before the WCIS plus 20 high-level meeting. So it has a lot of discussions mainly related to what was happening in the elements paper as well. So for folks who are not aware, the IGF is a global multi-stakeholder forum. It has participants from governments, regulators, civil society, we as a technical community, private sector, academia, and even youth as a stakeholder in the process. The first question is why our presence mattered. Well, we are there to make sure that our expertise in the technical world is informing the global internet policy debates. They are equal part. We are a stakeholder in the process as well. We want to build trust and understanding of how the technical community works and between the policymakers and the regulators as well. We want to safeguard what we have already built in terms of our standards, interoperability, and in general, the global public interest, and as well as bring real world deployment and operational expertise in these governance discussions. So with that, ITF as a part of a technical community and IAB as well wants to make sure that our presence is seen in these governance discussions. So with that, we proposed a networking session at the IGF 2025. We called it Tech and Policy, Building Bridges in Internet Governance. Mark did an excellent job in moderating the whole session. We started with an introduction of ITF as a part of technical community and talked about our openness, our transparency, the way we work as a bottom-up organization with individual participation, and also highlighted some of the things which actually we are doing quite well, like remote participation. For instance, our networking session did not allow us to have remote participation. It was live stream, but nobody could ask questions and participate. And this is what we highlighted as things that we as a technical community are taking upfront and leading the way on how to allow better remote participations for people who are not able to attend these events. Miria further talked about how the IAB and the IRTF fits in the whole thing and what is our role in the whole ITF ecosystem. Olaf talked about the policymakers program that ISOC runs, as we know, and how that has been useful in fostering engagement from the governance and the regulatory folks and the technical community. We also had Sarah from the UK government talked about her personal experience on how it has been at participating at the ITF and share what has worked well, what hasn't, what needs to improve with the rest of the governance folks who were there in the room as well. So which was very good. Thank you, Sarah, for doing that. Finally, we had an open mic where we had some challenges, some opportunities, again, on how we bridge these gaps coming out. The recordings are available. It's also linked on the blogs that we posted on the ITF. So if people are interested, go check this thing out on how everything went at the networking session. And since I like pictures, here are a few pictures of the networking session as well. Apart from the session that we organized, we also participated in the events which were organized by other folks. The most important of that was the community discussions where the co-facilitators of the whole process were asking for open feedback, and Roman did that beautifully. We also participated in other workshops and panel about topics that we care about, and which were things like digital emblems and DM, censorship, fragmentation, security, encryption, age-based restriction, and of course, AI being the hot topic. So there were a lot of things about AI governance as well, where we have things to say. Apart from things that were happening in public, we also had bilateral meetings. And I think these are very, very important in making sure that we can have meaningful relationship with these other stakeholders and we build trust between the two parties. And personally, it also offered a good perspective on what's happening. It should be something that when I do technical work and participate in our IAB discussion, something for me to take back as well on what is the global policy dynamics and how it is impacting our world. And we need to be more aware of what's happening. And finally, during the closing ceremony, they invite every stakeholder in the process to give us a few minutes of speech. And I got the opportunity to represent the technical community and the IETF. Overall, in my message, I focused on the whole technical community's long-term standing from the very start about some of the core principles like openness, transparency, inclusion, diversity, that these are such fundamental principles to our process, and not just for our process, for the internet itself. These are the foundation that we believe in, and we share these values, and we have shown and proved how we are committed to these values as well. And then giving a message that we have a shared commitment between all the stakeholders for internet's open and global future. And this is an important message from the technical community. Technical community is an important stakeholder, and sometimes we are not seen as much. So it's very important that we be more visible in this space as well. And with that, let me pass it on to Mirya.
Yes, hi, me again. As Olaf explained earlier, shortly after the IGF meeting, there was also the WSIS high-level event, which had the focus of reviewing the WSIS action lines and looking at this 20-year review of the WSIS activity. And we participated as well in with a smaller set of people. Usually, maybe that's something I also have to say, usually the IGF is usually later in the year, and this event is like early in the year, so we have like a continuation because the discussions are very similar. In this case, they were both like kind of back to back, but it was a good opportunity to follow up on our positions that we presented at the IGF, standing in for openness and the multi-stakeholder model. So we also had a couple of bilateral meetings. We met again with the co-facilitators, and it was nice to see how all the input they got over these few weeks kind of already influenced their understanding of the different stakeholders in the process. And again, Roman participated in a panel on young professionals, which was organized by ICANN. Yeah, I wanted to say RIPE, but it was ICANN. But RIPE was actually also there, so there were many people of the technical community engaging in this process. As a last point, there was also, in parallel to this event, there was also the AI for Good Summit, and especially there was, which is apparently a very big event these days, as you can imagine. There were like 15,000 registrations, but it's a free registration, so I don't think everybody showed up. I can't imagine we're 15,000. But there was also focus on AI standards on Friday of the event, and we engaged in that discussion as well as a standards organization. And with that, Roman is coming to stage.
Sure. Warren, did you want to ask a question now?
Warren Kamari, more of a comment. I don't usually do this sort of thing because snarking is more fun, but I just wanted to mention that like Roman and Dhruv did wonderfully great jobs doing this. Like if people have some time, it's well worth watching Roman's sort of networking thing and Dhruv's closing ceremony. Everybody did a good job, but like this is really useful and, you know, snark's more fun, but.
Thanks for that. Dhruv did a fantastic job. So just to tie it up, we've been talking a little bit about all the different places we've been and different venues inside the larger venues, about messaging. And to tie it all together, we were asked by the co-facilitators and the different panels we were on just to write it down. What is your kind of position in response to all of those things that are happening? You recollect that Olaf provided an introduction on where we are in the process, where first the co-facilitators in this process released this notion of the elements paper, which you can think of as an outline and a plan to collect feedback on the first draft. And there's the second draft before it goes to the UN General Assembly. To give you really a taste on how we just recently responded back to the elements paper, we really reiterated 4 key themes based on what was outlined. First, we emphasized that the internet over the last 40 years has been an amazing kind of success. First, connecting the unconnected to all of the resources and really transforming economies in an unbelievable and unanticipated way. And the magic by which that transformation happened was enabled by the multi multi-stakeholder participation. That is, that co-equally governments were involved, civil society was involved, academia was involved, industry was involved, and the technical community was involved. And we were reiterating that the future needs to build on the past success, and that model needs to continue. Equally, one of the things that I got introduced in the last review of this process was this notion of the technical community. We've been talking about that, but to really define it for you, if you're not kind of familiar with that term, that was a term invented to really capture the organizations that are involved in the standardization or operations of the internet. That would be things like us as the IETF. That includes parties like ICANN from the names community. That's the RIRs from the numbers community, and that is an overlapping set of overlapping with the other stakeholders, but also stands alone. And we wanted to reiterate in the elements paper that that needs to be called out as a part of the multi-stakeholder model because it initially was not. Now, WSIS is focused on a broad set of digital technologies. It's not just about the things related to governance. And what we also submitted was this idea that rapidly changing technology needs all the stakeholders at the table. And there was a lot of focus on AI in the elements paper. And we wanted to reiterate that instead of a multilateral process, which is governments deciding amongst themselves, we really do need a foundational start in that governance to include all of those stakeholders. We need civil society there in the beginning. We need academia there in the beginning. Of course, industry and governments and the technical community as well. And then lastly, we close with, because there's always a question of what does the future look like in terms of venues, and it was our position that the IGF has been a wonderful opportunity to bring together all the stakeholders that are above and beyond those that we see here kind of at the IETF or we see in the names and numbers community. I mean, certainly brings together those policymakers, and we endorse this as a future opportunity to continue to get together. And in parlance, in the parlance they were asking is should the mandate for that meeting to continue to be renewed, and we were supportive of that. And if you want to follow along on any of the particular details, there's kind of the links to what the starting point was, and that's what the elements paper is, and then you can read the specifics of our response.
All right, thank you. We have a little bit of a queue that will drain, and Carolina is up first.
Hi, this is Carolina. Sorry, I thought I was second. I was still sitting. So yeah, first of all, congratulations. I think the people clapping in the room shows that this community supports you engaging in these processes. I think it's incredibly important from a personal perspective. So thank you for doing that. Roman, that last slide was really great to see because, I think up to that slide, you were speaking about sort of, engagement activities you did. And I was wondering a bit more about the positions from the IETF and the IAB towards the WSIS process and the WSIS Plus 20. I think it'd be great if you could also elaborate what concerns made you prioritize engagement in these spaces. Also, what coordination you're engaging in. It's great to see you collaborating with the Internet Society. You're also collaborating with, ICANN, the RIRs, other members of the technical community, the CCTLDs. Have been quite active also in this process. So hearing a bit more about that would be great. On the IGF, I've noticed IETF attending before, and this time it just felt like you guys came a lot more coordinated. It just felt like a presence on the ground, which was really great to see. I was wondering if this is a one-off because the WSIS Plus 20 is happening, or whether you're foreseeing the engagement of the IETF and IAB as a permanent thing in the IGF going forward the way we saw it. I also think that there's opportunities for that presence to sort of like evolve. I guess it's a bit like the IETF where, you get what you give to the space. So, we've seen even more presence of, IETFers across workshops, speaking in the audience and so forth would be really, really great and helpful for that space. Those are my comments. Thank you.
I will respond to some of those comments because I'm not sure I can do justice to all of them. The things I would point out is I think the observation you make is correct. We are at a critical inflection point. We're at a 10-year review process. We have certainly previously participated in the IGF, but we rallied to kind of meet the moment of the significance of kind of where we are in the 10-year review and wanted to make sure that our presence was known. You were asking about coordination. Absolutely prepping in entering both of those meetings. We worked with the other stakeholders in the technical community, but I think the other piece that may not have come out in the slides is we also did a significant number of bilateral meetings with really other kind of participants in the community, especially amongst policymakers. So our position was kind of very clear that we also understood the concerns they may have and really try to have a bilateral understanding of kind of what we're thinking and what their concerns are, and making sure that our message is tailored to reach those kind of communities.
Great,
Thanks.
Thank you. Ali?
Ali Rezaki, Sustain RG Chair. Thanks very much for your engagement with the WSIS and the IGF. My question is, have you received any questions during these events about internet sustainability considerations? Now that we have a sustainability working group in IETF and a research group in IRTF, I think this should be on the table with discussions with IGF and WSIS, if not already done.
Absolutely. I mean, sustainability can be defined in a couple of different ways. I'm not sure exactly how you're pushing it. Helping implement the UN sustainability goals is a topic that came up multiple times in both meetings with many different kind of stakeholders, and talking through how the IETF contributes its part as the technical community to meeting those goals absolutely was kind of top of mind, and a topic, as you did mention, in the research group we have and in the Green Working Group.
But I didn't see it mentioned in the IGF report or the WSIS feedback you shared with us.
Yes. So the feedback that you saw in the elements paper was being very responsive as the co-facilitators requested to the specific content that was in the elements paper. So we were hitting specific parts of that, and as we saw it, there was not a place exactly for us to engage based on how the elements paper was structured. But in the bilaterals we had, which we did not kind of fully summarize, we had numerous kind of discussions where, frankly, parties wanted to understand how we're engaging and what is our part, and again, the work we're doing in the research groups and in the working groups was part of that engagement.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Vittorio?
Yeah, so I was prompted by your last slide. 20 years ago, even a little more, I was a member of the UN Working Group on Internal Governance, which is the group that basically invented the IGF, came up with the definition of internal governance and multi-stakeholder models that we are still using today. And at the time, we were really few people from the quote-unquote technical community. And we spent quite a lot of time to argue that there should be a technical community in this map, because it was something that had never been heard before. Everything is about the private sector, governments, and civil society, and those are the three stakeholders. So in a way, it's a bit sad or surprising that this is coming up again after 20 years, because by now I thought this would be well established. So I was wondering whether, is this a real significant pressure? Is this motivated by the attempt of, let's say, delegitimize all the ISTAR system, IETF, ICANN, ISO, because some people want to go back to UN agencies? Or is this just ignorance, because you get people into the system new from other stakeholders that have never been part of this, and they just don't know that the technical community. So I was wondering whether we should be worried or not.
Olaf is jumping to the mic.
Yeah, I'm going to partly address that. From my understanding, this is basically a copy and paste error.
Yes.
So we expect, but that remains to be seen, that in the zero draft, technical community will be back in the wording, just as it was in WSIS +10. Basically, what we want to see is that wording that has been negotiated and is fixed, like the WSIS +10 and the GDC language, is reflected, and we're not walking back on previously
I'm told we're out of time, but just to reassure you, we verbally provided the need for that in the open call with the co-facilitators, and then we met one-on-one with as a bilateral meeting twice, once at the IGF, one at WESIS with the co-facilitators, and they very, very much understood the issue and explained it very much how Olaf did. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And I believe Guillermo should be here somewhere in the room. Please come on up. We have a guest speaker that is local in the room, Guillermo Jimenez from Olympic Broadcasting Services. And they are just a few minutes away. So Guillermo should be here. Oh, there he is, coming down the steps. So thank you very much for attending. We thought it was nice to have a guest speaker that's local to Madrid. And Guillermo is the Director of Broadcast Engineering at Olympic Broadcasting Services. Yep.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm conscious of time, so I promise I will be brief and I will be finished before 1 o'clock. I came here basically to give you some visibility of a very specific use case, which is the distribution of the Olympics multilateral feeds over the internet. And all this, of course, is thanks to the work that all you are doing, and that provide us all this environment where we can develop and deploy all our systems. I'm going to put first a brief video and explain a bit who OBS is. Maybe you don't really know who I am, where I'm from where I'm talking. And anyways, I will just, with this video, hopefully you will get some initial insight of what I'm going to talk about.
I don't know if it will play here, actually.
Nope.
Streaming video is hard on the internet.
Yeah. Well, not that hard. Okay.
Could you try going forward, and then I'll let you go later.
Sure. Okay, so anyways, we can skip the video. That's okay. I will give you in words what I was going to show you in pictures before. So OBS, the Olympic Broadcasting Services, is part of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, and we have the role of the host broadcaster. I'm not sure how much aware you are of this role, but on any major event that needs to be broadcasted, of course, it would be unfeasible and very inefficient to allow all the televisions of the world to come in with their cameras, with their production units, OB bands, etc., and do their own coverage of the event. So normally a host broadcaster is appointed by the event owner, and then rights are sold to the different broadcasters around the world, around the regions, and then that feed is distributed to these broadcasters. OBS has been doing this since 2005, when it was first established here in Madrid, and it has been doing so ever since in all the Olympic Games. We're talking about the summer edition, the winter edition, and also since 2010 on the Youth Olympic Games, which also have their summer and winter edition. Basically, the concept of what we do is, nothing very complicated. We have the venues, we have the production unit. This MRH means media right holders, who are the entities that are holding the rights for the distribution in the specific regions. So what we do in the venues, we place the cameras, we place the microphones, we do the full production. We can distribute locally in the venue to sports presentation. All these pictures that you see on the screens inside a venue, those pictures are coming from us if you are in the Olympic Games. We distribute locally to the broadcasters. They can eventually also come to the venues, maybe place a camera in the mix zone to do interviews. There's some of them, they actually bring a truck as well, and we give them the feed there. And we deliver this to the IBC, to the International Broadcast Center. This is the main hub of the Olympic Games, broadcasting-wise. And we do this through our local contribution network provided by the telecom provider. This most of the times it's dark fiber, but we also connect to OTN, especially when we're talking about Olympic Games, especially in the summer, where the football venues normally are hundreds of kilometers away. Okay, so local venues with the dark fiber, faraway venues with OTN. Well, there was one case in Paris last year where we couldn't really use OTN. We had the surfing venue a bit far away from Paris, actually at the other side of the planet in Tahiti. So we had to actually use different methods of providing the feed. I tried to go there and do a survey to see that everything was fine. It didn't work out. And we started using our webcams to video conference with our colleagues there in Tahiti for obvious reasons. They started growing beard and long hairs. Anyways, so in the IBC, that's where the broadcasters come in. Many times they set up their own studios. You have the the big broadcasters with the main show for the Olympics. Normally they build the studio there. We provide them the feeds in the IBC. And in the past, the only way for them to get out of the IBC, of the host country, and deliver the feeds back home was normally through satellite transmission. And this is something that we're still using, of course. Lately, as the telecom lines, dedicated telecom lines, were starting to be a bit more affordable and the bandwidth was allowing for it, we started also providing them these possibilities of hooking up with us in the IBC with a telecom provider and then delivering it to our point of presence, some data center close to where they are, their headquarters. And there they will take it on with their own telecom provider into their premises. And this has been going on for quite a while, and we have been going through different standards of international transmission, different bandwidths, 10 megabits, 20 megabits, 100 megabits. And we are now reaching interesting bandwidths, 1 gig, 10 gigs. And lately also we are starting to move into 100 gigs of international transmission lines. Now, when we started looking into how we could be more cost efficient, how we could actually use the internet as another distribution method, this was back in 2019, just before, okay, we all know what happened in 2020, but I was going to say just before the Youth Olympic Games of Lausanne 2020. It was a very convenient, right next door in the home city of the IOC. We had it all set up for a normal operation. And then we started thinking, okay, let's, there has been this protocol, SRT, for some time. Let's try it out. Let's see if we can send some feeds from Lausanne to Madrid through open internet. Okay, it's not a big challenge. It's very close by, but still, we had never done it until that day. So we sent some high definition streams, and everything was working fine. I don't know if you are aware of the bandwidth that we normally deal with. If you are talking about high definition as it comes out of the camera, we will be talking about 1.5 gigabits per second. As soon as we start compressing it, of course, we go way down. And normally the formats that we use is 22 megabits for a high resolution HD feed and 10 megabits for a low resolution, all in H.264. Yeah, so we did that in Lausanne 2020. That worked relatively fine, but we wanted to go a bit further into what we could actually be doing. I will skip this for now because of time, but I will go back to it. It's just to give you some also figures of what the Olympics are in terms of numbers. So this is the evolution that we have been experiencing since this test in Lausanne. Actually, while we were doing this test, we had one of the big broadcasters down in the US. They were calling us, and they were also trying to test this. And just during the games, they told us, listen, we know that you are doing this test. Do you mind if we get involved? Would you be able to send us a feed through open internet from Madrid to the US? And we said, okay, yeah, let's try it out. Everything was going well in the operation, no big issues, no dramas. We knew what was, well, we didn't know what was coming next, but at that time, everything was going fine. And we said, okay, let's try it out. We actually said, okay, why don't we get in touch with another broadcaster as well on the other side? So we actually contacted another broadcaster in New Zealand, and we sent an HD feed through Open Internet to both of them. We got good news, good feedback from them on that side. We told them actually to return the feedback to us. So we had pretty much a loop of the feed coming all the way back to us from both sides, different buffers, and it was working quite well. Okay, we said, let's go further. Let's see what happens with a UHD feed, with a 4K feed. There we are talking about, at that time, a profile of 90 megabits per second. And in this time, we didn't engage with any broadcasters. They were not really capable of receiving this feed. So we just sent it to ourselves. We sent it to New Zealand and to our region of our cloud provider, and then sent it back to us. So we had a receiver in the cloud region, and then through Open Internet back to Madrid. Well, everything was working well, was working fine. And we said, okay, let's just leave it here. One thing is a feed. Another thing is the amount of feeds that we have for the Olympic Games. So moving on to Tokyo, the second attempt of the Tokyo Games in 2021, we had actually one broadcaster telling us, okay, we heard that you have done this. Can we have a feed from you in the UHD? Said, okay, yes, why not? And actually, at that point, we said, okay, we need to start putting it together into a service. So in Tokyo, we did this one delivery to this one broadcaster. It was a special request. It was not part of our rate card. But in Beijing, we did start putting it as a rate card item. So from one feed in Tokyo, in Beijing, we went up to 119 feeds through Open Internet. And this was started to be distributed not just to one region, but to several regions. This got a lot of traction. Most of the broadcasters using it as a backup. Moving ahead to Paris, a lot of them started also to do tests with us. We also opened up test windows for them to be able to make sure that they had the correct equipment in-house, that they talked with their corporate IT, they had the firewalls ready to go. And in Paris, we started getting figures of around 400 feeds going out to the internet, of which 10 of those were actually 90 megabits of 4K feeds. And these, we were sending it to the Americas, we were sending it to Asia, to Europe, of course. And now for the next games coming up, 6th of February, available in your broadcaster at home. We are going to increase, again, from Beijing. Of course, it's not the same winter and summer games. From Beijing, that we had 119, we're going to increase to 365 feeds, 20 of those being UHD. Here, what I show in this graph is a percentage of the services as we are delivering them in different methods. You see, well, I'm a bit in the middle of the way. The light color is through satellite. The next color, the big bar in the center, is delivering the IBC, so the traditional way, what we have always done. The darker blue is through cloud using SRT. And the very dark blue is through CDN, which has just become residual because basically every broadcaster has their own CDN solution. They don't need that from us, okay? So you can see that the percentage of services delivered through cloud has been increasing quite significantly in the last 3 games. We just went to LA last week, where we had our first meeting with the broadcasters related to the LA 2028 games. And delivery through cloud is becoming really not just a backup, but for many of them, the actual delivery method. So a bit of what we have been doing and what we are where we saw the SRT was very strong. I know that SRT is, okay, it's an open source. It was presented, I believe, in IETF in 107, which was in March 2020. So right after we did this test ourselves, And I know that probably many of you are maybe more familiar with RTMP if you have been playing around with the broadcast and the streaming backends, let's say. SRT, of course, provides more resilience, allows for encryption for content protection. In our case, is very important. And in our case, also, we are starting to enhance the redundancy capabilities of this stream. What we have been doing, basically, this is a snapshot of our architecture. We have been improving this architecture. What we have been doing is, okay, we have a very robust path through a dedicated telecom line to go to the first region. We are using, okay, sorry for the font. I think our corporate font is not showing well in this picture. Our cloud provider is the top sponsor of the IOC, Alibaba Cloud. So first of all, we go to the closest region. It was Tokyo in 2020. In Beijing 2022 was also Tokyo. In Paris, it was Frankfurt. In Milano, it's going to be Frankfurt. And we secure that with a redundancy provided by our telecom provider. And from there on, we are going through the backhaul network of Alibaba. On the other side, we have a full open internet path that we have from the IBC directly through our ISPs. Normally, we have at least 2 ISPs going out through the internet directly to the receiving point. So as you can see, we have 2 routes for increased resilience. We have been improving. This was the situation that we had in Beijing, but we have been improving it for Paris and Milano with redundancy in different availability zones, etc. So, as I said, SRT has been around for a while. I think when it was presented in 2020, it had around 200, 250 members. Now it's close to 600. It's an alliance that was initiated by a group of broadcast vendors, but then it was, from the very beginning, expected to be open source, and it was launched to the community in 2017. I don't want to go a lot into the details, but for us, what it allows us to do is to leverage internet with a very lower cost than the telecom lines that we are using, with a reliable protocol that focuses on UDP, but has part of what TCP has in terms of packet retransmission, but it does it its own way, in a more efficient way, not every packet, but every X amount of packets, and also eventually dropping packets if we don't care about that packet anymore. If you are transferring a file, you want all the packets to arrive. If you are streaming a video, a packet that was supposed to be on screen 1 minute ago is useless. It's already gone. So these are the kind of efficiencies and the thought to broadcast that was built into this protocol. Okay, just to touch on a couple of other things that we are doing out in internet. I was just talking about streaming. We also have file-based distribution, which was our main way of distribution before. It was pretty much tapes. I mean, someone was knocking in the office of the archive department, said, hey, I want a copy of this. Okay, there you go. You have a tape in this format, that format. Eventually, people started coming up with hard drives. Eventually, we started having some portal for a file transfer with some file acceleration protocol, but it was clear that we couldn't keep on going that way. So in 2018, we started putting in place this platform based in the cloud, where we are ingesting, distributing to different regions, and then the broadcasters can actually watch the stream live, subclip, and then bring down the clip to either the computer or an S3, a blob storage, or whatever other destination they might have. We have been adding standard conversion, many processes in the cloud. We have also been adding cloud editing, which now it's ubiquitous, but at the time it was a bit more of a new thing. And basically, that puts us in a place where we are trying to fit in into an industry that it's not our industry, it's not the broadcast industry, is the IT industry, is the internet industry. We don't want to start making up standards where there's a huge amount of standards already available for us, a big amount of technology already available for us in other industries. So within the last 10 years, there has been a huge transformation in, as I said, that tape recorder that we used to have is now a video server, and it's actually now a virtualized video server, and it's actually probably placed in the cloud in most of the cases. That card that was inserted in a bespoke frame that was doing some conversions, now it's a software in a server that can be virtualized, containerized, placed in the cloud. So what we are actually going into, it's what it's called software-defined broadcast. We have processing capacity, we have memory capacity, we have bandwidth. All we need is the software to do what we have to do our job. Cameras, microphones, they will still be there. It's the interface with the world, screens, interface with the humans, but everything else, it's network and software. Media applications to substitute these single-purpose hardware, like I was saying, this specific card with these specific components. I mean, a TV, your TV at home is pretty much a computer now. It's nothing else. Before, it used to be a very well-designed and engineered and very specific piece of hardware. And of course, expand what we're doing in the cloud, the reach, the different opportunities that it brings us to personalize the content. I'm not going to go into AI, but you can imagine that AI has a big impact in everything that we're doing. Anyways, I think, yeah, there's 5 minutes left, so I kept my promise. I just went very basically through what we're doing, just to show you a use case of what you guys are doing, which again, it's something that we are, like someone used to say many years ago, we're just on the shoulder of giants, putting our industry on top of all the work and the development that you guys are doing.
All right,
So
thank
that
you
would
so
be it
much.
from my side.
And we have some questions, and
okay,
if other people like to ask questions, get in the queue quickly. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Excellent and inspiring talk, I want to say. Stop here. The slide that you just showed. This, I was wondering, going from 10% deployment to roughly 40 in 4 years. That's a nice graph. What's the incentive? What's the incentive at the consumer side of these streams? Is this push? Is this pull? What's the economy behind this?
Okay, you have to think this graph, basically, it's showing a B2B evolution. It's not a B2C. And the incentive, basically, what we were seeing is that, I mean, I was going to show you the figures of Paris, but just to give you some ideas. In Paris, we were distributing to the broadcasters 82 feeds that had all the competitions, had some other press conferences, beauty cameras, and our native production format is a UHD HDR. Now, if we try to put that through the existing telecom lines, through the existing satellite links, it will stress and it will be very expensive. It's not very, well, it's becoming more of a norm, but it's not common to send 4K feeds through satellite. When we're talking about contribution, not the final distribution to the homes, and also in the quantities that we are talking about. Those 82 feeds will probably become close to 100 in LA. What are we doing with that if we are not going in somewhere like this? Even those 100 feeds, a broadcaster might not even be able or might not need to take them all. What we are doing now is giving them also the possibility to route what they need. They might just request from us 10 feeds, and we give them a software panel where they can choose which source goes into this 10 feeds. That through satellite we cannot do. Through telecom lines, they could be doing it, but it's going to be more expensive. With the big broadcasters, they're still using the telecom lines. And of course, this is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's still very relevant, provides a very robust way of reaching their homes, and of course, allows them to send many other control, monitoring data feeds that are not available in this form. So the incentive is pretty much get anything anywhere in the world, and with different formats that currently we cannot replicate in the satellite fashion, for instance.
Thank you.
Jordi.
Jordi Palet. The IP feeds, are there IPv4 or IPv6?
Yeah, I saw something on the agenda about this. We are using IPv4.
Okay. I am located here in Madrid. Let's talk offline and make sure we get IPv6 running on there.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. So anyways, I was just wanted to leave you with these facts and figures from Paris, where you see the amount of hours that we produce, the amount of trucks that we have, feeds, cameras, just for a bit of factual information.
And thank you. In the last minute here, anything that you'd like from the IETF from a new standards perspective that would help you?
Well, I mean, in the end, we know that we are very small in such a huge industry, and our capacity to influence, it's okay. We know where we are, but what we always try to achieve is we need resilience, we need bandwidth, and we need, I know the internet is not the best place for this, but we need to have certainty and some sort of deterministic approach to what we're doing. For a live television broadcast, every second that you lose, every frame that you lose, in the end, on the other side, there is a broadcaster who has sponsors who are paying money for this. They have paid for rights. They want to monetize as much as possible their rights. So any work towards resilience, towards availability, towards redundancy, this for us is paramount. And of course, the bandwidth, I could have shown you, there was a graph where it was showing where the bandwidth of networks and internet was crossing the bandwidth of the broadcast feeds. And that was where our industry switched and said, okay, we need to move away from what we're doing and start going with these guys, because besides that, you guys know what you're doing. You are going very fast physically in terms of bits per second, and at some point faster than what we were doing. So we are, of course, open to talks to see what we need, but it's speed, it's availability, resilience, redundancy. That's what we need.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right, with that, that is the end of our session. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
How are you doing? Good.